What the heck is Woodenization and why is it so doggone effective at cultivating student motivation, particularly effort? The effort belief, that is, the sense a student has that not only is effort worthwhile, it's desirable. You want to put forth effort. Effort is cool. It's rewarding. It's going to pay off. Woodenization is the secret sauce here because when you woodenize, you teach explicitly and effectively how to do every doggone learning conducive thing that you want students to do. In this video, what it is, why it works, and how to implement it in your classroom. This strategy gets its name from a master teacher. He began his career teaching high school English language arts in Indiana, and by the end of his career, he was world renowned for his craft and the outcomes of that craft as the UCLA head basketball coach. Of course, I'm talking about John Wooden, and let me show you on the screen how John Wooden describes the very first lesson that he taught his students. Look at all these words. Look at this detailed description. This is John Wooden telling a Newsweek reporter about the way that he began every season's first practice by teaching his players how to put on their socks and shoes. When I play this video in my head, in my imagination, I picture this older man with bare feet, revered by everyone in the room, taking a sock and a shoe, holding it up for his players, and then talking them through exactly how he wants them to put on their socks and put on their shoes. We're talking about pinky toe wrinkles, the correct order to tighten the laces, how many knots you should use, and then he has them practice, and as they're going, he's checking for understanding and reinforcing what he sees. I picture the looks on these 18, 19, 20-year-old young men's faces thinking, can you imagine? This guy is supposed to be the best, and he's talking to us about something that 5-year-olds know how to do. But this is a famous Wooden story, not just because it's something that he did, but because it's something that he said was very important. Everything that's conducive to student achievement needs to be taught. So in our language, all learning conducive behaviors that we know are helpful to help students grow toward mastery need to be taught. So Woodenization is just the process of explicitly and clearly teaching and reinforcing all the learning conducive behaviors that we want our students to do. Rather than expect them to know how to study, we teach them how to study. Rather than expect them to know how to complete our warm-ups, we teach them and model for them how to complete the warm-ups. So why does this work so well for student motivation? Well, first of all, it normalizes not knowing. When Wooden insists on teaching his players how to do everything from the minor things like putting on socks and shoes to the more major fundamental things like passing the basketball, he's creating an environment where everyone is being taught everything. The basics are not being assumed. And this is helping to create an environment where it's okay not to know everything because the teacher is, just by virtue of teaching all these basic things, signaling that I understand that not all of you have these things perfected. It also makes sure that you as a teacher are leaving nothing to chance. The reality is, being an educator in 2023, time that I'm making this video, students come to us representing a huge range of preparedness. Differentiating for that, heck, even understanding all of that would be like a full-time job, which I already have a full-time job. I can't do all of that. So instead, Woodenization is just me teaching explicitly how to do everything I expect students to do, modeling it for them, showing them examples, non-examples, and reinforcing the student behavior moving forward. You see, this way I don't have to differentiate or understand exactly where each of my students are at when they come to me, because my instructional practice starts to create uniformity through its comprehensive Woodenization. And finally, Woodenization empowers you and your students. You don't have to complain anymore that they don't capitalize the first person I, because you are going to teach them how to do that, and you are going to come up with a method for reinforcing that. Real basic method that I use is called skull and crossbones. It's in the writing chapter of my book, These 6 Things. Check it out. But you no longer are this disempowered person who has to decry the state of the world today. You get to do something, do your job, and teach students how to do these things. And it also empowers them because many of them have missing pieces, especially in the post-COVID world. You, through your Woodenization, are helping to fill in those gaps. So how the heck do I do it? Well, let's talk about how to begin with Woodenization. First of all, take 10 minutes and brainstorm all the things that you expect your students to do, all the learning conducive behaviors that you expect them to undertake in your class. It helps to differentiate these into smallies and biggies. Smallies are the types of things that you're real confident that they've learned multiple times before. I'm talking about how to enter a class, how to write your name on a paper, how to turn in assignments. But list them out. Even though they're small, list them out. Biggies are those things that you know from past experience students are going to need to be taught repeatedly, shown multiple examples, given lots of feedback, because it's developmentally appropriate for them to still be growing there. So like mechanically sound writing or placing a comma, that's a normal thing for ninth graders to still be working on. I'm going to need to teach that frequently. Taking notes that are useful. That's a normal thing for ninth graders to struggle with. Heck, college students struggle with it. I'm going to need to model that, give examples and non-examples, give students reinforcement frequently. Make that list. That's step 1. Make a list of smallies and biggies. Step 2, pick 3 smallies and 1 biggie that you're going to teach next week. I picked 3 smallies because with a smallie, you're only going to explicitly teach it for like 5 minutes max, and then you're just going to reinforce it thereafter. So like John Wooden, I guarantee he didn't have another lesson where he showed all his players how to put on socks and shoes. That was a one-time deal that included modeling and specific instruction on how to avoid common problems like the pinky toe wrinkle. After you teach a smallie, it's really just about reinforcement. I picture John Wooden 2 weeks into the season. He sees a player with their shoe come untied during practice. That's when he's got to pull him aside and say, hey, what's going on with your shoelace? Everything okay? You need some help? Were you late to practice today? Listen, it's really important to me that you do as I instructed and double knot those shoelaces because this is the type of thing that you can get injured from. I don't want you tripping over your shoelace and getting hurt because that's just a waste of your time and it hurts the team. He's not like coming down hard. He's not being some draconian ruler. He's just reinforcing the smallie that he taught. So you take your 3 smallies, you teach them. You take 1 biggie and you start to teach that. And by the way, strategy 7 of 10 in this book is all about Woodenization. It goes pretty in depth on how exactly to teach smallies and biggies. Step 3, already mentioned this, you're going to reinforce the smallies with 100% consistency. And step 4, already mentioned this one too, you're going to continue to teach that biggie. You're going to show a 5-minute example of it on one day. You're going to pull a student example on another day. You're going to give a non-example, a common problem that you're seeing in this biggie area on another day. You're going to give your students lots of exposures, lots of practice, lots of looking over their shoulder, your feedback in the moment, because they're going to need that to become competent and consistent in using this biggie. So there you have it, Woodenization. That's why it's important, why it works, and how to use it in your class. I promise that this will help with the effort belief. Looking at you, green guy. At any rate, I hope the video helped. Please think about subscribing, clicking like, and saying hi in the comments. Until next time, colleague, cheers.